you do if you sat down to learn a song that feels completely beyond your current technical standing? When you listen to Julian Lage play Opal on Scenes from Above recording, it sounds like an impossible maze of shifting harmonies and flawless touch. But today, we're stripping away the instructional fog, and I'm taking you inside my exact personal preparation framework, and I'll show you basically how to simplify a complex masterpiece by mastering the core basics, the shapes, the hidden escape routes, and the precise mechanical shifts required to deliver a believably, deeply satisfying performance for yourself and an audience. So drop your fingers into position number 4 right now, and we're starting with an F sharp add 6 piano style voicing on the middle 4 strings. Fret 9 on the A, fret 8 on the D, fret 6 on the G, and fret 4 on the B. Now the tuning diagnostic and fretboard escape routes. Strum that shape cleanly. Now here's your first critical diagnostic warning. So listen closely to your foundation and your intonation. If you apply even a fraction of or an ounce of uneven vertical pulling pressure to any of these strings, this dense Ted Greene style chord will instantly feel completely out of tune. Treat this chord with care. Now let's build our map across the first position of the F sharp major scale. We begin our first octave on frets 2 and 4 of the low E, right? And fret 4 in the D string. So move up through frets, like we've got 2 and 4, and then we have 1, 2, 4, and then 1 and 3 and 4. And what we want to do is become comfortable in that octave and familiar. And we basically want to just lock down the root notes. But we're not going to get trapped in a box. We need a physical escape route on the neck to let the music sort of live and breathe. Now look at this option for our second octave, starting on your root note on the 4th fret on the D string with your pinky. So ascend through frets 1, 3, 4 on the G, and then hit 2 and 4 on the 6, and then what is it? Finger 1, that's the 6, and then the 1, finger 1 and 2 on the high E string. Now leave that 6th fret on the B string ringing, right? Let's try another escape hatch. So instead of using this, that second or first position, we're just going to move up and out of first position and will give us that little bit of ringing, right? So leave that 6th fret on the B string ringing completely open while your hand reaches back down to capture fret 2 on the high E string. Now listen to that exquisite tension. That E sharp note rubbing against the F sharp root is where true phrasing and tone come alive. The dynamic shift control. Let's talk about moving smoothly up the neck without letting your audience hear the seams. So move your eyes up to fret 11, 10, and 8 on the G string. When we're hanging out on this high register, we basically have to make a vital finger exchange. 11, now I'm borrowing from the melody. What I'd like to do, I don't want to hear that when I trade from fret 8, finger 1 on fret 8 to finger 3 on fret 8. I want to basically hear all of those notes as one finger. It's a seamless experience. See how that swaps out, and we can get that to cleanly kind of give us our segue into another beautiful opportunity for a slur or some kind of phrasing opportunity. Swap your index finger out for your third finger seamlessly. The goal here is 0 audio break, so no gaps in fret pressure and absolutely no audible sliding noise. Holding that string down during the swap gives you the leverage to execute a crisp pull-off down to fret 6. See what I mean? That specific pull-off creates an entirely different acoustic tone than a standard slide. From there, we continue descending our little melodic leg using smooth slurs and pull-offs all the way down to the 2nd fret, cascading effortlessly onto the F-sharp major pentatonic scale across the D, A, and low E strings. The tonal center grid and the Jim Hall connection. To establish an unshakable foundation for the song, we must wrap our minds entirely around the primary tonal center. We're going to navigate the fretboard using clean 3-note per string patterns that are incredibly easy for your brain to absorb. They're super easy. We begin on the low E string at fret 2 and run cleanly up to fret 7 on the high E string. Notice that as we descend, your fingers stay in the exact same physical spaces. You do not have to think about a brand new pattern on the way down. Once you hit the peak of that 2nd position, shift up to the 6th position and run your 3-note per string pattern down from frets 9 and 7 and so on, and the high E and B strings. When you hit the G string, we make an intentional an exception. Stay locked on the 6th position all the way down to the low E string. And then shift your physical home base down to fret 4 as we ascend our final path. This beautiful scale ascension carries an incredibly sweet and expressive melodic lift, the exact kind of treatment the late great Jerry Garcia loved to outline a major key center. This specific texture reminds me deeply of that legendary Interplay recording featuring the brilliant Bill Evans alongside Jim Hall on guitar. And if you haven't experienced that record yet, I highly recommend you stop what you're doing and listen to it immediately, or at least after this video. So now we're going to talk about organizing the intervallic stack. Now let's reset our minds entirely and take our harmonic layout to an advanced level. So shift all the way up to position 14 for an alternative F-sharp add 6 variation. 16 on the D, 18 on the G, 16 on the B, and 14 on the high E string. To map out the shifting chord scales across the rest of the neck seamlessly, we're going to adopt the ultimate guitar organizational matrix created by the master himself. So this was George Van Eps. We're focusing strictly on what he categorized as string group number 2, or the D, G, and B strings when you have 3 strings, right? We're going to move through this entire landscape using an intervallic stack built with a 5th on the bottom of a 2nd stacked directly on top. To navigate this layout, you only need to memorize 3 simple chord types. Type 1, a perfect 5th on the bottom with a major 2nd on top. Type 2, a perfect 5th on the bottom with a minor 2nd on top. And type 3, a diminished 5th on the bottom with a whole step on the top. Now let's trace all of these together up the D, G, and B strings as written out on page 2 of our workbook notes. We start on frets 4, 6, and 4, which is type 1, and then we shift to frets 6, 8, and 6, which is also type 1. We move to frets 8, 10, and 7, which is type 2, and then we advance to frets 9, 11, and 9, which is type 1. Now we're hitting frets 11, 13, and 11, which is also type 1, and slide to frets 13, 15, and 12, which is type 2, or you can use whatever fingering works for you. Drop into frets 15, 16, and 14, which is type 3. And finally, we arrive right back where we started, an octave higher, frets 14, 16, and 14. And if you wanted to, you can add the F sharp on the top. We can take this exact same intervallic streak down the string group 3, the A, D, and G strings as well, by simply flipping the geometry so that the second interval sits on the bottom and the fifth sits stacked on the top. So let's go ahead and take it slowly through this. I have written out every single one of these exact fret coordinates, string groupings, and scale escape paths directly inside our premium companion lesson workbook layout for this session. Stop trying to pause a video timeline or squint at handwritten video frames. Go to jasoncareyguitar.com/lesson/Opal-Julian-Lage-breakdown right now to grab your clean, high-resolution copy of this entire structural workbook layout. Let's eliminate the practice friction, master these foundational building blocks, and turn your study of Opal into a joyful, deeply meaningful experience on the guitar instrument. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time picking with me today. I've had an incredible day in the studio, and I hope you do too. And until we meet again, happy picking.